We've got about 15, 20 minutes now, and what I'd like to do is we're not going to try and take feedback from every single discussion and every single table, because there's an awful lot of extraordinarily rich and diverse stuff there, and it will take a bit of absorbing and putting into some sort of frame. So rather than just trying to go off at machine gun speed and read out 150,000 separate post-it notes, which probably wouldn't be the most useful way to spend the afternoon, what I'd rather do is just ask, firstly, if there are any burning points or questions that people have from here, and then actually to sort of effectively say we have just been joined, Lisa and I have just been joined by Helen Hart from Creative and Cultural Skills, and we're here basically to answer any questions that you have about the process or what happens next, etc., etc. So first off, is there anything that anybody wants to comment about the process you've just been through, and or any really important themes that you thought were emerging? Or not?
Okay. Yeah, something that was interesting that came out of the discussion we were having is about the fact that some of the statements maybe need to be pulled apart and tiered into different levels. There was a suggestion that some of them may be at quite high level, some are more base level. So maybe looking further again at, how does everyone need to achieve all of those statements? In which case, do we maybe need to rethink about which ones are essential and which ones would only be applicable to some people?
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's very helpful, actually.
Do you want me to say a little bit more about that? National Occupational Standards underpin qualifications as one of the uses. And what would happen with them when they were informing qualifications is you would look at what is essential for absolutely everybody to do, things like legislation, health and safety, child protection, that sort of thing, that everybody would cover, and they would become mandatory. And then out of the others, the person would choose the ones that were specific to their job role personally and what they do, and also at the level they're achieving and they're working. So not everybody would be expected to achieve absolutely everything across the suite. Does that help at all?
Thank you. Any other themes? Rachel? Could people, I'm sorry, I should have said this hours ago, could people, when they're contributing from the floor, just say who they are, actually? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rachel Gibson. One of the things that occurred to me and seemed to come through in the group that I was a part of was that in the same way that you've got a cyclical progression around the key roles as a whole, it feels as if within that the functions are, if cyclical or linear in some way. And it was great having them set out on the tables in terms of practically being able to comment on them. But for me, when they're written up, that some of them will certainly make more sense if they are written in an order where the progression from one to another becomes more clear, both within the groups and between the groups. Does that make sense?
Yes, I saw a couple of post-it notes to that effect as well around there, yeah. Do you want to respond to that?
Hi, Tom Morgan from Dance Challenge. It's just more of a comment. Reading all of the comments or the points there, I had the feeling that, and this is just a warning note perhaps, I had a feeling that quite a lot of topics might create the opinion to practitioners, to dance leaders, that as something too complicated. So emphasis has to be given to wording of all of the topics.
Did you make some changes to some of the language that was there?
Yeah, in a couple of places.
Yeah.
So loads of people actually picked on that.
Great, good.
Thank you. I think that's absolutely right. I mean, as Chris said before we started, I think we discovered during the process of the last year that language is quite a tricky thing here, and it can lead you down tracks that the person who uses it doesn't actually intend, and you get quite confused. But that's a very, very helpful point, and I think simplicity is really important. It's got to be user friendly. This can't actually be off-putting in any way. But it's very right to keep us held to that, because it's too easy to disappear into our own language. Okay, thank you. Somebody over there?
Hi, it's Jade Molden from Exercise Movement Dance Partnership. How do you envisage the process going forwards in terms of taking the feedback on board and then maybe coming back with a second version?
I'm glad you asked me that question. I'm going to hand it over.
Thank you, Graham. We're going to over the next 3 months we'll have a look at those standards again, take on board your comments. Hopefully by this afternoon some of them will be up on. You'll see them this afternoon in the refreshment area. We're going to start doing it today. So we'll take on board a lot of the comments. We'll take those back to the groups as well, and have discussion more about language and reconfigure them. Then we will probably send you all, if you're willing, send you all another version which will be more like the end product really, and perhaps give you a kind of optional sort of survey questionnaire as part of that, that you can feed into one last time, before we then lodge it with Helen at CC Skills, hopefully in November. By November we're hoping to have got them to a stage where we also have to take them around the country, because we have to show that they have national significance as well. So we'll be doing that process over the next 3-4 months.
Thank you. It's Jeannie Brown from the Royal Ballet School. I just wondered how broadly applicable you intend these National Occupational Standards to be, and whether they apply to teaching dance in a wide range of contexts.
Again, absolutely, in principle. Lisa can follow that up.
The simple answer is yes. They are supposed to be completely overarching enough to reach any kind of dance leadership that's happening in community settings. And education programs and so on and so forth. So any kinds of... what you're saying is that you'd like to see some definition about community, maybe definition about leadership, dance?
I suppose I just wondered whether you are defining it as dance within education, within community, or whether that also crosses over to vocational dance training, where if there is a line, where that line falls.
Yeah, I mean, it is supposed to be overarching all of those settings, so yes. Yeah, go on.
One of the things with National Occupational Standards is they're usually written in a very generic context so that they can be taken and contextualised for whatever purpose are needed. So we write them fairly generic, then people can take them out, and they might start for delivering training or delivering qualifications. They could put in the words like community or educational or whatever, but the purpose is to write them generic so that you maintain that level of standard across all the different contexts.